What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly in iOS 14. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about the first developer beta. We haven't even made it to version 2 yet. So a lot of these bugs or annoying things could get fixed or patched over. But as of the time of recording, which is July 2nd, this is what we're still working with. So if you guys didn't catch my iOS 13.5 jailbreak video a couple weeks ago, I talked about how I was going to upgrade to the iOS 14 developer beta, and now I've been using it for about a week, maybe a little bit over that. So I definitely feel like I have enough experience with it to kind of talk through the things I like and dislike. So let's get into that. So as you'd expect, I'm going to start with the good. And obviously it has to do with the redesign. And the big standout feature of the redesign are the widgets. Now, the widgets for me fall into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll talk about why. But starting with the good, I think the best widget overall is the Smart Stack widget, and it allows you to swipe through different widgets, all that are either in an order or smart recommendations. So for example, at night, a lot of times I like to, once I turn the lights off and I'm trying to relax, I like to scroll through TikTok, as many of you may also like to do. So my little Smart Stack recommends at about 10:30 or 11, hey, do you want to open up TikTok? And I'm like, yes, I do. And then I go and I scroll through TikTok for an hour. But that's kind of cool. It gives you little smart recommendations like that. Also, like when I'm getting ready to leave to go to lunch, I typically go to Chick-fil-A. I'm a huge Chick-fil-A fan. So it'll say at the top, like the maps thing, and it'll say, hey, Chick-fil-A 6 minutes away from where you're at right now. Things like that. So a lot of smart recommendations there in the Smart Stack. And you can access things like weather, your notes pages, your calendar, featured photos, which I find kind of odd because it's not like an on this day photo or something that maybe stands out to where you're at or what you're doing. It's just kind of random, it seems. So maybe that'll get fixed later on, I'm not sure. How you add widgets is you go ahead and press and hold on the home screen, hit the plus icon, and then it will give you your different widgets, and you can choose different sizes. So there's like a more like little square one, and there's a longer rectangular one. And it really depends. It's all up to preference there. And they don't let you put widgets anywhere. You can't put them like right next to each other. You have to like have apps on the screen. You can't just have widgets. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Maybe all that'll get fixed. You never know. Some widgets I just don't find useful, like the calendar one or the notes one. I don't know. Maybe they're useful to you guys. I just don't find them useful. The ones I'm using are, again, the Smart Stack. I like the activity one that shows your different rings. The only problem is it doesn't work great, and we'll talk about that in the bad. But I also use the music one. I don't really know why. I just like the look of it. It's very non-functional, again, like we'll get to in the bad, but those are the ones I'm using right now. Now, if I swipe over to the today view, I've got my calendar, I've got the weather, I've got my shortcuts, which I love having that. I've got maps down there. I've got battery, which is actually super helpful because you can see your watch battery, your iPad battery, your AirPod battery, all that kind of stuff right there. And then I have productivity as well. And then some other widgets like dark sky and stuff, but we'll talk about that in a second. Another awesome kind of customization feature is the addition of the app library and being able to hide entire app pages. So to get to the app library, you're going to swipe all the way over to the right, and then you will see the app library here. And this is going to organize all your apps into different folders based on kind of where they're at in the app store. So social media, obviously all your socials will be in there, productivity, all your browsers and everything. Now, unfortunately, as of right now, there's no way to kind of organize these folders in any kind of particular way. You can move stuff in and out of them. You can go ahead and, if you want to delete an app, go into jiggle mode and then go ahead and hit add to library, and it will remove it from the home screen or from your specific set of screens here and put it only into the app library, which is kind of nice. But again, no way to customize what folder they're in right now. It kind of just pre-sorts them. Maybe that'll get fixed, maybe not, we'll see. Additionally, if you swipe down in the app library, it'll give you this alphabetical order view of all your different apps, and you can find them really easily there. Not sure if that's enough to get me to switch to not just pulling down from the main menu and searching, but we'll see after enough use. So that is the app library. Now you can also hide entire pages, which is one of my favorite features. So if you want to do this, go ahead and press and hold on the home screen again. Tap the 3 little dots or 2 little dots, whatever you have at the bottom screen, and then all your pages will pop up. You can go ahead and check them if you want to, or you can uncheck them like I have if you want to hide like 10 games and like 50 or 60 apps that I use like once or twice, maybe once or twice a year, or like once or twice every couple years. any of those little food place apps that you kind of have to have installed. Hopefully app clips will eventually fix this, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But right now, I just go ahead and hide that entire page of the apps I don't use, and I sorted it to just my most used apps on the main page here for me. So speaking of app clips, you now have the ability at a place, maybe like a restaurant, or I think Apple showed off like a parking meter that has NFC. You can walk up, place your phone up against it, and it will go ahead and give you like a tiny version of the app, only the stuff you need to directly interact with that NFC tag. And so it allows you to not have your phone cluttered up with all these apps that you only use every once in a while, and just to get small snippets of the app when you do need it, which is a super handy feature. Pretty sure this has been on Android for a while, but I'm glad to see it come to iOS. All right, let's talk about messages. Now, again, if you guys have seen my iOS 13.5 favorite jailbreak tweaks, if not, I'll leave a link above. But if you've seen that video, you'll know that I talked about Iris. And Iris was a tweak that allows you to customize the Messages app. It allowed you to pin conversations, sort people into color-coordinated groups, and do hidden conversations and all that kind of stuff. The update to iMessage is a little bit less powerful than that, but it did add some nice functionality. So first of all, being able to pin conversations is huge. I love that feature. I only ever pin one text message thread, and it's the one with my wife. I just like to have that one front and center so I don't miss anything. So I pin her to the top, and everything else is kind of just down underneath that. But I can, if I want to, add additional people just by swiping over and pinning them. And then if I want to get rid of them, press and hold, and then go to unpin, and it will drop that back down. So that's really cool to have it up top. Now, it's a little hard to get used to because you're used to seeing your most recent conversation kind of down on the first line. But if you do have a new message, it'll show the message in a little thought bubble above their picture right there. Additionally, for group messages, it's now kind of sorted it into this little circle. And then inside the circle, you see all the little people's pictures that have been replying. You can go into that, edit it, and then you can change the photo or change the name, all that kind of stuff right through there, that menu. Additionally, in group messages, they added inline replies and the ability to mute the conversation except when you're specifically tagged, which is really cool. So if you want to reply, you just press and hold and hit reply, and you'll do an inline reply directly to that person's message. Now, I don't know anyone that's running iOS 14 right now since we still are on the developer beta, but I would assume when more people start running it, or when the public beta is released, or when the full version is released, you'll be able to reply to people. But right now, if I type in one of their names, nothing comes up. So I'm not really sure if that feature is actually active right now. The last thing that's kind of new in Messages specifically is that new Memoji update. Basically, they added like more detailed face structures. They added more hairstyles. They added more like interactions, like high fives and hugs and stuff. And they added face masks because, you know, it's 2020. Accurate or no? So again, I would love to see them bring in some more functionality from that Iris app. I would love to be able to group my messages by color or by just label, so I could put like all my family in one category or all my friends in a different category, things like that. That'd be a nice thing to add on. And I'd love some more detailed ways to filter through messages. That would also be nice. I know the search functionality has gotten very good in Messages, but I mean, there's always room for improvement. All right, let's talk about the weather app. As you may or may not know, Apple acquired Dark Sky, and they've worked a lot of the Dark Sky functionality into the updated weather app, which is awesome. So you've got hour by hour, you know, predictions and things like that. You've got the air quality warnings, you've got sunrise, sunset, and then you've got those hyper localized alerts like, hey, drizzle starting soon, it's gonna rain for 20 minutes, that kind of stuff, all with that Dark Sky integration. And I would imagine that the stock weather app will continue to get better and better as more and more of those powerful Dark Sky features are integrated. So a lot of the improvements that Apple made in iOS 14, I would consider like space savers. And basically that's like when they redesign something or they retool something so that it's more practical for the size of the screen and the functionality of the device you're using. Things like picture-in-picture, things like the updated Siri animation, things like the less intrusive phone calls. And we'll take a look at all that here. So Siri got a redesigned user interface. So instead of it taking up the entire screen, it just pops up at the bottom with the little animation. Now, unfortunately, you still can't interact with whatever's underneath Siri, which I guess I will put that in the bad, but maybe that'll get updated in future versions. I know Marquez did a video podcast, his Waveform podcast, and a video on his channel where he talked to Craig Federighi about this, and Craig said that they have it working both ways.
You know, we'll continue to listen to what people have to say through the beta period, because like I say, I mean, we actually have it working both ways.
But they found that trying to dismiss Siri was too much of like a heavy gesture and too much interaction, and they didn't like it. So they just left it and figured that most people's interactions with Siri, they don't need to interact with what's underneath it, but he said he'll keep it in consideration to switch it back. So we'll see what they end up coming out with when the final Grandmaster version comes out of iOS 14. But right now, you cannot interact with what's underneath Siri, even though it doesn't take up the entirety of the screen. Now, things you can interact with are picture-in-picture video. So right now, I know that the Twitch app supports it. I know that the Apple TV app supports it. I don't know if any other ones support it right now. I really hope that YouTube at least adds the functionality for YouTube Premium members. That would be absolutely killer. I am a YouTube Premium member, and I would love to use picture-in-picture with YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, all that kind of stuff. But let's go ahead and check out picture-in-picture with Twitch right here. All right, so I got some Fortnite gameplay up here. Go ahead and swipe that away, and there it is. So you get this nice, very responsive picture-in-picture window here. You can swipe it around. You can resize it to a bigger one, or you can swipe it, pinch it down to go to a smaller one. And then if you want to get rid of it for a sec, just swipe it away. It goes into the corner of the screen. You can actually move that little corner part anywhere you want. Super, super handy. And then you can just swipe it back out, scale it back up when you're ready to keep watching, and do whatever you want underneath. Look at Twitter, you know, get on Chrome, get on Snapchat, whatever you want to do, all right there. Super, super handy. I absolutely love this feature. And again, like I said, I really hope it comes to YouTube, because that's mainly what I watch is YouTube videos. In the same vein, Facetime calls also work the same way with the picture-in-picture, where instead of getting paused when you swiped out of the Facetime app like it used to, it will actually keep you on screen at all times. So if you're used to kind of drifting off and not paying attention when you're on a Facetime call, that doesn't really work anymore, because you'll still remain unpaused, and you can swipe that little Facetime window around to whatever you want. So let's go ahead and test that out. I'm gonna go ahead and call my brother. What's up, Beans?
What's up?
What are you doing?
Playing Rocket League.
Are you off today?
Yeah, they give us a day off because 4th of July is on a weekend.
I got you. Are you off tomorrow too?
Yeah.
That's nice. So as you can see, I can interact with everything underneath Facetime while keeping that on the screen, which is super, super convenient and super, super handy. Also, phone calls now just take up a little top portion of the screen. So when you get a call, it's not going to just fill the whole screen with the picture and the option to swipe and answer the call. It just gives you a little drop down. You can just press hang up or pick up, whatever you want to do. I guess that doesn't impact me as much. I don't particularly like talking on the phone, and not many people call me because they know that, but it is an option there, and that is how the updated UI looks. So a lot of just little refinements that just make the operating system feel more modern. Another cool little accessibility feature that I put into the good category that a lot of people have talked about is called back tap. And you get to this by going to settings, accessibility, scrolling down to touch, then going all the way to the bottom under back tap. This allows you to double tap or triple tap the back of your phone to initiate actions. So double tap I've got set to control center, and triple tap I have set to lock screen. So if I go ahead and double tap the back, I get my control center right there. I'm not going to triple tap because it'll stop my screen recording, but you get the idea. Another usability feature that I really like is the updates to Control Center. So it's gotten a lot more feature rich. It's got home favorites now, which I use all the time. My entire house is smart in one way or another. All my lights, all my locks, all my plugs, everything is smart in some way. So I'm definitely gonna be making a video on all the different smart things I have in my house. But right now, I just have the home favorites, and I can interact with all my most used ones or set it right there without having to, you know, force touch or press and hold on the favorites button to get to that. So I use that very, very frequently. I absolutely love that. Third-party apps can now be set as your mail and your browser default, which is awesome. I love this. I'll be definitely setting Chrome and Gmail to my default mail applications because the stock mail app is garbage. Unfortunately, you can't change your default mapping app right now, but hopefully that comes in the future. All right, so that's what I love about iOS 14. Now let's talk about really my bad and the ugly. And really, I'm just gonna put those as one thing. Surprisingly, I've used almost every beta, and this is by far, I mean, last year's beta was just atrocious. It was one of the worst betas I've ever used. It completely destroyed my phone. But iOS 14 Developer Beta 1 has been one of the most stable beta releases I have ever seen in my life. So I don't really have a lot to complain about. But the one thing that just really frustrates me is just the lack of functionality that the widgets have. I don't understand it. It's like they were just teasing us. Now, do keep in mind that this is the Developer Beta 1, so all of this is subject to change, and I will be very happy if it does change. But for example, the Activities widget, it doesn't even auto-update. So it'll be sitting here, and it'll say the things I did yesterday. And to get it to update to what my watch is actually tracking today, I have to push it, go into the app, back out, and it's refreshed. Doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose if you have to go into the app? The same thing with music. I have this music widget set up because what I thought I could do is just kind of maybe force touch on the little, album that I want to listen to. It'll give me a pop-up that gives me a list of tracks or a shuffle button or a play button or anything. And I can just tap that and go straight into the music. But no, it'll take me to the album, but I still have to pick the song or hit play or hit shuffle. What's the point of the widget? To take me to the most recent albums I've listened to? It saves me, what, 1 click? Widgets are supposed to make things easier, not the same. So I just think it's kind of silly. Again, the Smart Stack one, if you want to see more information about the weather, you have to tap it and go into it, unless you do the larger widget, which maybe I don't want to do the larger widget every time. Same with maps. I can just see a recommended address. I still have to tap it to go into it. I can't start the navigation straight from here. That's the functionality I want within the widgets. I want to be able to interact with them and make it so I don't have to go into those apps to access their functionality. I can do everything as quickly and easily and with as little navigation of my actual phone as possible. That's the whole point, right? So hopefully we'll see updates to these widgets to make them more interactive, but right now they're kind of just like static images of what the app looks like inside. Kind of like you're window shopping the app. And I reserved the ugly category not only for that widget functionality, but also for the bugs. But surprisingly, I've had very few issues at all and very few bugs to even speak of. I'll mention a couple just to have something in the bad category. One is battery life. Now that's something you just come to expect. It's not significantly worse by any means, but it's definitely not as good. Internet connectivity is also kind of lacking. It tends to disconnect from my Wi-Fi and reconnect frequently. But again, that could just be, A, it could be my Wi-Fi. B, it could just be a bug that only I'm experiencing and other people aren't. So there's always that to keep in mind. Another one that I've encountered, which is super, super specific, is when I try and set a new wallpaper and I go into my Photos app to set a wallpaper, and then I click the little share button and then go to use as wallpaper, my phone freezes and goes to reset, basically. Super weird, but again, that could just be a bug I'm experiencing. All right, guys, and those are my first impressions of iOS 14, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of Developer Beta 1. Drop a like on the video if you loved it. Tell me in the comments down below, have you used the beta? Did you find a bug that I didn't find? What's your favorite new feature? Let's have a conversation about it down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be among the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.